Okay, so here we are, crisis averted. We tend to have little technical issues in life, and one of my little technical issues in life keeps recurring, and I'm not really sure what to do to keep it from happening. All I can do is just try to resolve it as soon as it does. Here's what happened, and if anyone has a really good way out of it, now let me know. But I print these on a sheet. These little name chips, I print them on a sheet, and then I cut the sheet. When I cut the sheet, I cut the names into strips, and then I stack the strips and cut them so that I'm ready for my reveals. The problem that occurs is sometimes, once in a while, two of these will stick together and go into a flip insert in double form. And my problem there is that I end up with 48 or 49 inserts filled, and somewhere I have a duplicate that I can't find. Well, since they're stacked directly on top of one another, I end up having to go back through and look to see if I can find the one that was duplicated, and this time it was actually pretty difficult to spot. I had Cookie and Eric together in one flip insert, and I took one of them out and put it in another, and everything's all fine now. But how to get that to quit happening? I mean, I guess I could try, because when I put these in, I lay them in random form on the desk, and I just kind of, they come in a little stack, a little pile, and I just kind of unpile them and spread them out on the desk and just put them in randomly. The only thing I'm checking for when I place the names into the flip inserts is that I'm not repeating the same name twice. So if I grab Harlan, I put Harlan in, I make sure the next one I grab isn't Harlan. It could be Parviz. I stick Parviz in, I make sure the next one's not Parviz. But if it's Harlan again, that's fine. And I do that just so I don't get the same name twice in a row. Not for any other reason. But yeah, it turned into well, see, if I made them labels, not only would that be a lot more expensive, but it would also kind of defeat my purpose. I don't know. It would be difficult to change them over to labels. I guess I could do that. Shuffle them on the desktop. Well, Carl, the problem with shuffling these little things, look how small they are. I mean, they're about the length of my thumb. They're like an inch long. They're really hard to shuffle. Hey, you know what they look like. You've received 1,000 of them. Well, let's just keep going. Let's move on with the roll, our 49D roll for the day. I'll go ahead and plop this out on the desk and get started. And we'll look through here and figure out what we've got. All right, here we go. Coin number 1, Mr. Fletcher. Mr. Fletcher gets... Well, that one does not appear to be an RPM. We're going to go pretty slowly at first, and then we'll pick up the speed as we go along. I just want to be sure I catch everything, that I'm not missing stuff, and that you get all the stuff that's in the roll identified. So at first I run a little slower, just to be sure I catch everything. First 10 coins, we'll look at the reverse side during the show. If we find a double die, we will continue looking. There's a struck through right there on the first coin. And if we don't find anything in the first 10 coins, I will leave the remaining 40 for Eric to look at when he gets time. When he gets through these. That is something I need to express to everyone. Eric is rebuilding part of his house right now, basically, and it is a part of the house that he uses generally to do the reveal studies, and he can't do the reveal studies elsewhere in the house because what he does, right, what he's doing right now, which is replacing drywall, produces a lot of dust, and he doesn't want a lot of dust, and especially chalk dust, which is essentially little teensy tiny rocks getting all over the coins. So he has put the coins away. They're packed away safely in a different place with a tarp over the entire lot. And he will not get back to these until the room is finished and painted. That is going to take about another 2 weeks. So he has instructed me to hang on to all of the reveals that we are currently working on until he gets back to a point where he can finish working on the coins that he already has there for you and gets to a point where he can begin work again. And until then, I am doing all of the reveals that I can do to keep the natives happy, and and I am taking care of combining all of these and getting them ready for shipping for Mr. Buyer when he continues his work. Sherman, stop. Hey! He's over there licking my chair, and before I know it, he's going to have it soaked. He's a dog, and he gets these little fits about him where he has to lick. And he just licks and licks and licks and licks. There is a doubled eyelid right there. It is a very minor one. I don't know that we're going to do much of anything with that, but I'm watching carefully for double die obverses, double die reverses, looking especially in God We Trust, looking in the 1 cent area and on E Pluribus Unum for any doubling. There's many spots, a few spots here. This one's for Ant. You're always happy. Might be you, Carl, but there are some other people I've received some rather anxious emails from. They sometimes don't understand the amount of time the process takes. They sometimes don't want to understand the amount of time the process takes. And unfortunately, this one's just kind of spotty. Any more big spots? Yeah. It's got enough spots on it. I think I'm going to just refund that one to Steven. So I'll give him a credit for this coin. I have to write this down or I will forget. Let's see. I sent out invoices on last night's reveal show. Some of you will get duplicate invoices, but the first one is generally just going to have a note on it that I wrote to Parvis, and then I copy and use previous I copy previous invoices to make future invoices, and when that happens, I sometimes accidentally get notes that I write to people copied into somebody else's invoice, so I go back and delete that stuff. Anthony Kempfield, you do not pay for a subscription. There is no subscription with this. You have to be at the show where we sell them on Monday evenings. We sell them on Monday evenings, and then we perform them through the week. This isn't a giveaway. These coins are purchased, and they are purchased through participating in a sales show where they are all sold. And you can register to become a part of this by sending me a quick email that has your PayPal email address in it. My email address where you send it is coppercoinspayments@gmail.com. Oh, thank you, Carl. Oddly enough, I managed to spell it exactly as you did. That's where you register to become a part of this family of shows. You get registered, and the only reason that I make people register ahead of time is because people in the past have participated and then not given me an email address to send them an invoice, and then they just kind of disappear into the wind. And it just causes extra strife and trouble for me. So I prefer to have people's information prior to taking any orders from them. There is a filled mint mark that doesn't really mean a whole lot of anything, but it is kind of interesting to look at. This is a later die state coin. That is why you see a lot of soft details, but you also see a break in the center of the mint mark. This is a late to very late die state coin. That is the reason for that. Let's take a look on the reverse, and the reverse is also very late die state. You notice the wheat lines are nearly completely missing, and that isn't because of wear. That's because the die was very old or had struck lots and lots and lots of coins prior to striking this one, and all of those details basically kind of disappeared. It's actually somewhat common for a number of different years in Lincoln cents, especially in the late 40s into the 50s. 1955 is probably one of the worst years for it. There is a repunch mint mark. There we go. 1949D RPM. We are going to place this aside and take a much better look at it later. A little bit of chewed up rim up there. It's a late die state. Looking for any markers that'll help me identify it as any one given particular die, and I'm not really seeing much because this is a very late die state coin. Well, that one's for Taco John. We'll put it in the special coins pile, and I'll let Eric figure out what that is. Coin number 7. Mr. Patillo. Here's another RPM. This one's a different one. This one has a nice little chip die break down there on the bottom of the vest. It's got a die crack running from the bottom of the vest to the rim. Then it has other die scratches and cracks on the bottom of the lapel areas. Probably, yep, there is. There's one over VDB as well. So this one won't be hard to identify later on. Got a bunch of weird little marks out in front of the mouth and nose. So it's a nice little tilted RPM. It seems as though with some of the attributors, I'm not going to mention any names, the idea of a tilted RPM has been lost on them. They're starting to call things tilted that are not tilted. And they're starting to call tilted RPMs north, south, east, west, whatever. The whole point in a tilted RPM is you can't tell which one is the primary and which one is the secondary. We'll take a look at this again. I'll give you a little bit of education, then we'll move on. Okay, so this serif up here is overlaying. This serif down here is underlaying but belongs to the same punch. This serif here is overlaying, and then this one up here is underlaying, but it belongs to the same punch. So you have the top half of one RPM or one mint mark is on top, and the bottom half of a different mint mark is on top. You can't tell which one was punched first, punched last, and there's no direction to use because there is no primary. Both of them are primary in different spots. So basically this area right here is where the two crisscross one another. One becomes deeper and the other becomes shallower, and so you've got two mint marks that are basically laid directly on top of one another, and neither one of them are the first or second one. That's what a tilted RPM is. That's why we don't give a direction for tilted RPMs, because there is no direction to use, because the direction in an RPM is generally the direction that you have to travel from the primary mint mark to get to the secondary mint mark. And since neither one of these is primary or secondary, there's not really any direction to use. All right, this one here is for Eric. And nothing going on there. Let's move on up to see what else we have. Got nothing really going on here. Another slightly spotty coin there. Spottage indeed. Okay. Nothing else there. Another normal coin. Hope you're still here, Anthony. It is nice to have some new faces around. I hope you got the good answer to what you were looking for with regard to registration. There is another RPM, another additional RPM, not the same as either of the other two that we have seen so far. This one appears to have a doubled eyelid associated with it. That one's actually a pretty decent doubled eyelid as it appears. And that's all I have on the obverse with this one. Let's check the reverse and see if anything came up on the reverse to help us out. Ah, good. I'm glad you are here, Anthony. Have you been watching long, or is this your first time tuning in? Well, hello, Anthony. A different Anthony. Good day, sir. All right, we'll move on to coin number 10. This one goes to Harlan Loebman. Harlan, well, I don't see an RPM for Harlan on here. Let's keep looking around, see what we see. Pretty hefty little eyebrow die crack there. And as we travel along, we see nothing on the remainder of the obverse of the coin. Let's take a look at the reverse. This is coin number 10. So it will be the last one we look at, the reverse. We haven't found anything on the 9 out of 10 coins that we've checked so far. I do remember that one of the RPMs, we did not check the reverse. But there is very little to nothing really known for 1949D reverses. The big thing on 1949D is going to be the repunch mint marks. There's at least 30 to 40 of them known. I don't think I have all of them listed. It's kind of what we're trying to do, is get the remainder of them listed and cross-referenced over to John Wexler's checklist. Still working on locating all of them first, though. Hi, sissy. I'm sorry, what get you? What get you pennies? So no major complaints. You mean the amount of time that you have to wait? Oh, there's another RPM for you. This one, I believe, has that doubled eyelid associated with it, or what appeared to be a double eyelid. No, this is the one that's got the little pits out in front of the nose, so it's got the die cracks underneath. Yep, it's got the die cracks underneath and over the VDB. Yep. So this is that one. That might be the reverse we haven't checked. Go look at the reverse on this one. Nothing special. Nothing at all. All right. 44D over S. It seems like it's in a later stage. I would like to see pictures of that. The only D over S that actually even gets to a later stage is number 2. That would be the one where the center of the S sticks out of the left side of the D mint mark. If you're talking about the one where the S is over and above the top of the mint mark, there are a couple of RPMs known that kind of sort of look like the D over S. A lot of people get those confused. I'd like to make sure that you're not confusing something that isn't the D over S for one of them. Got nothing else there. We do have a number of small spots and sometimes even bigger spots on some of these. Oh, driving for long periods. I get it. Okay. Waiting in line to get your trailer washed. Okay, now I finally read up and I see where you came in earlier. I had no idea what you were saying because I caught on late to your conversation. Okay, this one doesn't have anything on the mint mark area. Nothing on the eye. It is a later dice date coin, which is why it looks very soft, very fuzzy, leaning out toward the edge of the design. And we're up to coin number 15 now for Ant. We have a 55D and a 57D roll left to do today, and then we have the auction this evening. There is a list up at coppercoins.com/auction. I will have to forewarn you, though, that I am going to be adding more to the auction when I get finished with these reveals. We are going to have a rather sizable auction tonight. Lots and lots of slabbed coins. If you like slab-proof coins and higher grade Lincolns, oh, look at that. That's pretty. That's a nice RPM right there. I think we've seen this die before today. That one's for Carl. And coin number 17 for Crispy. We're going to be running a lot of rolls tonight, too. Yeah, there's another RPM for you. That's a different one. But this one is for Crispy. Some of these look like they sort of have what's left of a doubled eyelid, but I just don't think so on this one. Kind of has that appearance, but I have to get on the microscope with both eyes to be able to tell for sure what I've got going on. Coin number 18 now, Frostbite. And let's see what I have here. Oh, nothing on that mint mark. Sometimes they're a little difficult to see, which is why I rotate the coin around in the light. Slightly different light shining on it can actually help determine what you do have, if you have anything. Sometimes all it takes is just a different angle of light and everything works out just fine. Here's Frostbite's normal coin, number 18, now number 19, Roger. Let's see what we have for Mr. Roger. There is another RPM. This has got damage under the R in Trust, so I'm not sure we've seen this one before. No doubling on the reverse on that one. Let's see. Taco John comes up next. That is an RPM, I believe. I think. Let me zoom in on this one. Get my exposure time up. There we go. Yeah, let me twist it around here with my ever dexterous and very there we go. I don't know for sure. It looks like we could be looking at part of an RPM here, but I'm not 100% on it. We'll just set it aside, give it to Eric and let him look at it, but it looks like it could be a stump to a different RPM, kind of broken off right there, or to a different mint mark. I'm not 100% on this, though. At all. Alright, let's keep moving. I'll stick it in the pile with the others and let Eric tell me that I'm crazy. I'm crazy. Yeah, I don't need to be singing. A, I can't do it, and B, they'll delete my damn show because I put music in it. Oh boy, look at that. That's pretty. That's a nice 49D RPM right there. That's a nice one. This one's definitely in the book. You can see that this has got an upper inside the mint mark, and it's got a lower down below the mint mark. So you can see a second D right there. That's what we look for. Got no other doubling on this, just that. But that's plenty enough for me. That one's Harlan's. So Harlan gets a nice 49D RPM. Let's see who's next. Malcolm. Let's see what Mr. Malcolm gets. This might end up being a chore of a roll. That's a minor split serif, split lower serif RPM. May or may not be enough to list. Just depends on how easy or difficult it would be to photograph. It's one of those things that we don't necessarily like listing really, really minor stuff because, well, you pretty much have to have a BU coin to know what you've got. That one also appears to have a bit of a doubled eyelid. Appears, but I don't think it is, because it matches what's going on the bridge of the nose, which that to me would be die wear. Could also be hub wear. We don't speak much of hub wear. It's relatively the same as die wear, it just looks a little different. I can't remember if this one was an RPM or not now. My brain is getting old. No. Not enough. Alright, coin number 23. Harlan's is 1949D 1mm003. Thank you, Carl. There's another one. Another one of these. Ooh, what's that? Oh, that's just something sitting on the coin. You got some die scratches running through the bottom of the coat area. Not anything else really going on. No, it's a nice RPM though. So I only have mid-die state listed. We may end up taking a photo of these coins, or that one anyway. Here's one for Mickey Fur. Let's see what Mickey gets. An RPM. Nice. That's an RPM. This is another tilted. You can tell, if you use the education I just gave you, you can tell that this mint mark right here kind of sinks down, and then it goes below this other mint mark. So this mint mark right here comes here, and then it stops, and then it picks up again down here. And then this mint mark here is the highest one here, and then it comes up, and then it picks up again underneath that serif. So you've got overlapped top to bottom serifs going on here. Hello, Scott. Oh, this is number 19. Okay. It's 1mm19. And we don't see any other doubling on the coin, just the mint mark, and it is a tilted D over D. That's for Mr. Mickey. Now number 25. Halfway through the roll, we've got Cookie. And Cookie. Let's see. That is the same die as number 21 here, or 22 for Malcolm. It's the same die, and I didn't save that one out because it didn't look like it was quite enough to list. And this one appears pretty much to confirm that. It's very, very minor. That's coin number 25 now. Okay. All right, got it. Dennis. Now Dennis Paulson. Let's see. No RPM, nothing for the date, nothing on the eye. My dog is just sawing logs over here. He's got the big chainsaw working. Oh, that's fine, Scott. No worries at all. He's going to spend an entire lifetime going through them, but the idea is there, and I get it. He wants to be sure he pulls all the value out of it first. That's an RPM, same as the others that we have listed, or that we have in the pile anyway. Yeah. Most people realize that they've saved up something that's just too much for them to handle, and they're ready to sell when they're ready to sell. And then there's other people who just can't get themselves ready to sell. They know they should, but they won't do it. And then when they do sell, if they sell early, they want to get high prices for the stuff, which I kind of figured would also be the case. So that if he did sell, it would probably be for more than I would want to buy them for. But it's all good. It happens. Kind of a daily thing in the coin industry. People say, oh, I need to get rid of this stuff. Why don't you come over and take a look at it? And you do, and it's like they're taking you on a museum tour of their collection, but they don't want to sell any of it. Like, dude, I didn't come over here to look at your coins. I came over here to buy them. Paul. Mr. Hampton? Well, we don't have an RPM on this coin. So, keep moving around and looking to see what we can find. And nothing here. Do we see? Now coin number 30. Stephen? It's quite okay, though. I've got plenty of common wheat pennies. I don't really have to buy more. Oh, there is a... That is a doubled eyelid right there. I have seen this die, and I'm not sure I pulled it out, so this would be a good one. That is a doubled eyelid right there. Probably one of the listed ones. So that will come out. And we may have another coin somewhere in the reject pile that is one of those. Crispy now. Nothing there. It looks almost like a bar L, but it's actually die wear that causes that. Yeah, I don't know what the gentleman expects to find in there, but I know a guy here in North Carolina who won't let go of his wheat pennies, and that's fine. It's like, I don't know what you I don't know what you plan to prove by having wheat pennies sitting around in a back room. They're not making you any money that way. But whatever. Some people lose sight of the forest for the trees, so it's common. 58D Kansas City OBW is listed for $50 a roll. Yeah, that is nuts. I sold 58 DOBWs for $15 a roll. Maybe he should have bought all of mine, or maybe he did. Who knows? Right? All right. Let's see. Nothing there. Wow. Got a froggy in my throat. All right, Surag up next. That is a minor RPM. But this is the same die that I've rejected before, so maybe... Who knows? Maybe I'm just being tough on him. Maybe Eric will pull these out and want to do something with them. It will be, but some people don't think about what it does to those they leave behind. Ooh, there we go. There's another RPM 3. Bam, this one's for Ant. And it is early mid-die state. It's not necessarily EDS, but it is nice. Here's number 36. This goes back to Carl now. And... yuck. It's nothing. Carl, don't buy any lottery tickets today. Here's Crispy. Crispy up next here. And Crispy is not an RPM. Not a doubled die either. Coin number 38 now for Kevin. Let's see what Mr. Dobbs picks up here. Let's see. This is one of those excessively minor RPMs that you can't even see it on the serifs. The only reason that this could be called an RPM is because this little stick right here doesn't belong to the rest of the mint mark. So you have a punch over a vertical bar, but it's not enough to even list. No serifs, no real pickup points, nothing that we can use to say, oh, for sure this is X die and not Y die. Number 39, Farm Dog. Is it warm enough to golf in Arkansas? Snowed here a couple of days ago, so I thought it'd probably be pretty cold in the lower Midwest. So one guy who owned all of the pennies to begin with didn't take advantage of selling them before he passed. And it sounds like the guy who runs the shop now isn't going to sell before he passes either. So we'll end up with two people who had a whole bunch of coins that won't look at them. If the sun's out, it's 38. Well, you have much thicker skin than I do. I wouldn't want to work outside at 38 degrees, especially if it involved golf. Golf is only a warm weather sport for me, and it's not really a sport. It's more of just a little entertainment thing to enjoy for the afternoon. Afternoons where it is between 69.5 degrees and 78 with no wind and sun. Well, hey there, pizza guy. How have I been? Actually, pretty good. Things are rolling along very nicely. Getting a lot of hits on my auctions and on these reveals, and a lot of people to talk to and teach and learn with. I mean, I have learned something today. I've learned to more or less memorize what a 1949 DRPM number 3 looks like. There's one for Parviz. And Parviz gets a nice RPM. Nice double split serif RPM. This one's got the die gouge underneath the bust. Seen this die a couple of times in this roll. It's also got the damage on the R in Trust. Hello, Cookie. Good morning to you. Or is it? Yeah, it's still morning all across this great land. It's 11:47 a.m. here in the far east of the United States. And that would make it earlier everywhere else. Except in places like Maine, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, Rhode Island, where it's 5 or 10 minutes earlier because they are further east. We did have a nice visit. I'm concerned about Parviz because he's not well, and he's, I guess, going to have to go back to the hospital for a third visit. I hope they can get him straightened out so that he can, what he really needs, what I would like to see him be able to get, is good physical therapy. Because I think he needs to get up and walk around a little bit more. But we did have a nice visit. I plan on going back down that direction here in a month or two. There's another RPM. Another nice one. This is the one that has the what appears to be a doubled eyelid. These are nice wheat, since they are not as nice as I've seen, but they are pretty good. There's a few of them that are really good, and then there's a few of them that have some substantial spots on them. Here's coin number 47 for Frostbite. 4 coins left in the roll. This is one of those 4, and it is a lower split serif RPM. And number 48 now. .48 has nothing. You do have to remember that when you look at these coins in the macro version, looking at the entire coin, you don't notice a lot of the little things on these coins that we see under the microscope because, well, the entire coin's only 19 millimeters across. There's another RPM for us. Lower split serif with a little flag coming out the left side. I've seen one of these in this roll, or one or two of them. And the important thing to remember is that, like, that little tiny mark over there next to the S, that really is little tiny. Because you have to imagine that the entire coin's only 19 millimeters across. If you get 1.5 millimeters, 2 millimeters out of any of these letters, then, well, there you go. But 2 millimeters is almost too small to see with the naked eye. That's my point. Cookie gets the last coin in the roll. Let's see what Cookie gets. Oh, bummer. Big setup for nothing. Well, it is what it is, right? We at least had 50 coins, and all of them were more or less uncirculated. That's that. Finished with this reveal. It's been a fun time. We've got a pretty hefty stack of varieties in this one. Let me count these. I'm going to count. You look at the names. If your name is in here, that means you definitely got something. $19. No, the end coin's not always toned, especially when it's never been in paper and it was wrapped straight from a bag, or whether it is a replacement from paper to a tube. This came to me in a tube, so it's probably not from a paper roll. And even at that, a lot of times when people tube paper rolls, when they stick paper rolls into a tube, they will dishevel the position of the coins, and you'll end up with coin number 38 as the ender. So that is the case with paper wrapped original rolls, but this was not a paper wrapped original roll. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take off here and get ready for the next reveal. The next one is 1955D. It's going to be in about 5-6 minutes. I'll be back then. You guys go find it and wait for me. I'll be there in just a few minutes. See you then.